I now give the floor to His Excellency Abdullatif bin Rashid Alzayani, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Bahrain.
Bismillah.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, Your Excellency, Mr. Abdullah Shahid, President of the 76th Session of the United Nations General Assembly, Your Excellencies, Heads of Delegations, may the peace of God be upon you. We are delighted, Mr. President, to congratulate you on your election as President of the General Assembly in its current session. We wish you every success in conducting this work. We also thank the former President, His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bozkir, for his efforts in carrying out the work of the last session in an efficient and effective manner. Mr. President, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the accession of the Kingdom of Bahrain to the United Nations, and we, as leadership, government, and people, are proud of the cooperation, partnership, and commitment we have achieved with this international body to achieve the goals and objectives of the United Nations to serve all humanity. We also express the Kingdom's appreciation for our close cooperation with the United Nations, and we underline our determination to continue contributing to the work of the United Nations and to support its efforts and noble principles for the benefit of the countries of the world while protecting the rights of the people to security, peace, stability, and prosperity. Mr. President, today we stand in this hall and witness the first steps in the recovery from COVID-19 following last year's virtual session, which proved that international cooperation and global partnership are essential to deal with the risks of this pandemic. They are also essential to address its effects on the human safety and health of people. The Kingdom of Bahrain, under the leadership and guidance of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, took all the necessary measures to be fully prepared to face the repercussions of this pandemic. We harnessed all the capacities and efforts to protect citizens and residents alike and to provide the necessary health care for all without discrimination. The national efforts led by His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, played a vital role in the speed of the response and developing preemptive strategies and plans to deal with all scenarios. Before the announcement of the first case of infection in the Kingdom in February 2020, all measures were taken to protect society from the risk of the pandemic. The Kingdom also followed the strategy of tracing, testing, treating to minimize close contacts and to limit the spread of the virus in society under the supervision of the National Medical Task Force for Combating the Coronavirus, which was formed to set plans and protocols for dealing with the developments of the virus. In addition, an integrated media strategy was developed for optimized media engagement to meet the challenge of all possible scenarios preemptively and instantaneously. The COVID-19 alert level traffic light system was also adopted, which is an advanced mechanism with clear criteria consisting of 4 levels, on the basis of which the various sectors in the Kingdom of Bahrain operate or close, while maintaining freedom of movement and keeping all air, land, and sea ports open throughout the period of combating the pandemic. The Kingdom of Bahrain has provided more than 2.5 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine free of charge to citizens and residents. Its national vaccination campaign succeeded in vaccinating 74.8% of the total population as of August, and 93% of the total population eligible to take the vaccine. Bahrain has also conducted more than 6 million PCR tests, which is one of the highest number of tests per capita in the world. In addition, the Kingdom of Bahrain has been among the first nations to implement many treatment protocols related to the virus. The Kingdom of Bahrain has taken a series of measures aimed at protecting the health of citizens and residents on the one hand, and preserving the economy and the livelihood of citizens on the other hand. We launched a financial and economic stimulus package worth more than 4.5 billion Bahraini dinars, equivalent to about 12 billion US dollars, which is 1/3 of the Kingdom of Bahrain's GDP. The package was aimed to support the economic sectors affected by the pandemic, as well as the private sector and citizens, and to support the wages and protect jobs. The Kingdom has also strengthened its cooperation and coordination with the World Health Organization to confront the repercussions of this pandemic. We are also proud that the World Health Organization has designated Manama as the first healthy city in the Middle East region. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Bahrain reaffirms the importance of the pivotal role of the United Nations in addressing vital international issues, and its role in strengthening the foundations of international peace and security for the good of humanity. In doing so, we stress the Kingdom's commitment to all international conventions and laws and to working to achieve the goals and objectives of the United Nations. My country is working to strengthen its cooperation and partnership with the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in the field of promoting and protecting human rights in the Kingdom, and we provide our full support to efforts in this field. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has recently signed a declaration of intent with the Office of the United Nations Resident Coordinator in the Kingdom of Bahrain to participate in the preparation of the National Human Rights Plan, which we hope will act as a comprehensive framework for the initiatives, projects, and goals that my government intends to implement in the field of human rights protection. My country has been keen to promote and protect human rights in compliance with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we have worked in this context to advance Bahraini women and to integrate their needs into the development process and to uphold the principles of equal opportunity and equality, including equality in salaries and wages, in order to achieve an equal partnership to build a competitive and sustainable society. The Kingdom of Bahrain has also maintained its Tier 1 status in the annual U.S. State Department Trafficking in Persons report for the 4th consecutive year. My country's government has also approved a law on alternative sentencing, providing a qualitative leap forward in reform and rehabilitation. The law is compatible with modern criminal justice policies in the protection and promotion of human rights. Mr. President, my country's government has been keen that its action plan and economic vision be in line with the Sustainable Development Goals and the main pillars, policies, and initiatives aimed at the benefit of the human being as the primary goal of development. We have done so through 3 priorities: strengthening the basic pillars of the state and society, achieving financial sustainability and economic development, and securing a supportive environment for sustainable development. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Office of the United Nations Resident Coordinator in the Kingdom of Bahrain have signed a Strategic Cooperation and Sustainable Development Framework Agreement. in order to enhance the growing cooperation between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Nations in various fields and levels. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Bahrain shares the international community's interest in climate change and its effects on human life, and the efforts being made to mitigate its effects on the environment. In this context, we look forward to the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26. My country's government has also developed an integrated plan to increase the share of renewable energy in the Kingdom's energy mix as part of our Sustainable Development Strategy, and in order to reduce carbon emissions as part of the international efforts to counter climate change under the directives of His Majesty the King to develop the environmental and climate situation in the country. In this regard, we reaffirm the Kingdom of Bahrain's support for the pioneering Saudi initiative in this regard, the Green Saudi Initiative, and the Green Middle East Initiative. Mr. President, the Middle East region continues to be in a state of instability and insecurity. The people of a number of nations in the Middle East suffer difficult conditions because of wars, crises, and conflicts. These have resulted in the loss of lives and the displacement of millions of refugees and displaced persons. It has also led to the destruction of cities, villages, and infrastructure, turning the lives of these people into a painful tragedy of daily suffering, driving away opportunities for peace, security, and stability. The Kingdom of Bahrain calls on the international community to focus its efforts together on achieving security, stability, peace, and prosperity in the Middle East, and to do so by adhering to the principles of the United Nations Charter and its purposes, which include the non-interference in the internal affairs of countries, the commitment to good neighborliness, mutual respect, and the peaceful settlement of disputes, in addition to strengthening international cooperation. The Kingdom of Bahrain has always been keen to preserve the cohesion of the Cooperation Council for the Arab States of the Gulf, due to the importance of its role in maintaining the security and stability of the region. Therefore, the Kingdom stresses the importance of the commitments included in Al-Ula Summit Declaration held in the Brotherly Kingdom of Saudi Arabia earlier this year. These commitments would promote the interdependence and coordination and would achieve greater cooperation and integration among member states. The Kingdom of Bahrain chose the path of peace as a strategic option and as an approach to establish a permanent and comprehensive peace in the region and to consolidate the culture of tolerance and peaceful coexistence for the benefit of the people of the region and the world, and to combat the ideology of extremism, intolerance, and hatred. The Kingdom of Bahrain's signing of the declaration in support of peace with the State of Israel comes in line with the vision of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to promote peaceful coexistence and to consolidate a culture of peace, fraternity, dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect, with its noble goals endorsed by all monotheistic religions and enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. In this regard, my country stresses the need to achieve a just and lasting peace in the Middle East. While we adhere to the basic Arab principles, primarily preserving the rights of the brotherly Palestinian people to live in a secure, stable, and prosperous nation, we call on the international community to work for a just and comprehensive solution to the Palestinian issue that meets the aspirations of the brotherly Palestinian people to establish their independent state with East Jerusalem as its capital, in accordance with the principle of the two-state solution, as well as resolutions of international legitimacy and the Arab Peace Initiative. My country also supports the initiative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for a ceasefire in Yemen, in order to reach a political solution to the Yemeni crisis in accordance with the Gulf Initiative and its implementation mechanism, the outcomes of the Comprehensive National Dialogue Conference, and the relevant Security Council resolutions, namely Resolution 2216, in order to end the suffering of the Yemeni people. My country condemns the Houthi group's continued targeting of civilians and civilian establishments in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by systematically and deliberately launching ballistic missiles and drones in clear violation of international humanitarian law. The Kingdom of Bahrain calls for an urgent settlement to the issue of the Renaissance Dam and stresses the importance of reaching a fair and binding agreement on the issue of filling and operating the dam in a manner that preserves the water rights of the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Republic of Sudan, and that contributes to maintaining peace, security, and stability in East Africa. In Libya, we call for respecting the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Libyan state and supporting the efforts of the interim executive authority and to cease from interference in Libya's internal affairs and to withdraw foreign forces and mercenaries from Libyan territory, as well as holding elections that reflect the will of the Libyan people. We also renew our support for the legitimate rights of the Kingdom of Morocco over its southern provinces in accordance with the Autonomy Initiative and support its efforts aimed at finding a political solution to the Sahara issue within the framework of the sovereignty of the Kingdom of Morocco and its development initiatives in this region. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Bahrain, under the directives of His Majesty the King, and based on our belief in the principles of human solidarity, we have taken the initiative to contribute to efforts to evacuate American citizens and Afghan nationals from Afghanistan and to send humanitarian assistance and relief to alleviate the suffering of the brotherly Afghan people. The Kingdom of Bahrain affirms its support for the Afghan people and the choices they make themselves without any foreign interference in their affairs. Further, we underline the need to reach a peaceful political solution between all parties and components of the Afghan society to achieve peace and security in Afghanistan and to meet the aspirations of its brotherly Muslim people for a free, dignified, stable, and prosperous life. The Kingdom of Bahrain calls for the establishment of a zone free of weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. The Kingdom reaffirms its support for international efforts aimed at preventing Iran from acquiring the ability to develop a nuclear weapon. We stress the need for Iran to fully cooperate with the International Atomic Energy Agency to ensure the maintenance of regional and international security and stability. The Kingdom of Bahrain, in cooperation with allies and friendly countries, has made continuous efforts to pursue sources of terrorist financing and money laundering. We have been able to achieve success in this regard. Accordingly, we are the first in the Arab world in the Basel Anti-Money Laundering Index. In this context, we renew the commitment of the Kingdom of Bahrain to continue efforts as part of the global coalition against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria and all extremist terrorist organizations, and to dry up their sources of financing. We stress the importance of partnership and international cooperation in combating terrorism and confronting the ideology of extremism. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Bahrain underlines that overcoming the challenges and difficulties facing the international community and maintaining international peace and security and achieving sustainable development with its noble humanitarian goals, all this requires us to harness efforts and increase capacities to enhance cooperation and effective international partnership, and to consolidate the values of peaceful coexistence, solidarity, and fraternity for a brighter and more optimistic future for the people of the world. In conclusion, Mr. President, I am I am pleased to express the Kingdom of Bahrain's appreciation for what you have set out in the program of your presidency for the work of this current session of the United Nations General Assembly. Let this session be full of hope, hope for accomplishing work that benefits humanity and achieves prosperity, hope for security and peace throughout the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Bahrain for his statement. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of San Marino to introduce a statement by the Minister.